LSU is taking on undefeated Ole Miss. LSU afternoon game in Death Valley, 2-point favorite. This, I think they opened as a 2.5 point underdog. When openers came out, I was tweeting a home dog, hammer spot. Total 66.5 here. Maybe we'll get another amazing shootout in the 3:30 CBS slot like we did last week with Tennessee, Alabama. Believe it or not, LSU moves into a share of first place in the SEC West with a win. Look, to me, we just talked about strength of schedule disparity. This is one of those games. LSU's faced 3 teams currently ranked inside my top 20 of the power ratings. Ole Miss has faced 0. Their best win was against Kentucky at home by 3, thanks to a couple late Kentucky fumbles. I think from a matchup perspective here, LSU's defensive line can create enough negative plays to contain the Ole Miss offense. So they'll get their points. And then on the other side of the ball, LSU's offensive line should control the line of scrimmage. They'll get their ground game going. And then most importantly, they can build on the passing attack that we saw last week. We heard Brian Kelly clamoring for deep shots, being more aggressive. Well, what happened last week? After only throwing 18 passes of 15-plus yards over the first 5 games, just throwing, he only attempted 18 over the first 5 games. Jaden Daniels completed 8 of over 15 yards in the first half alone last week. Also, Kayshon Boutte got going. He had 115 receiving yards. He only had 130 over the first 5 weeks combined. So I love what I saw from the LSU offense. And then just this Ole Miss team, look at their schedule, and all of the results just I have not been impressed with them. Their running game has been really good, but I still don't really love this passing attack. And that's really how you can attack this LSU secondary. I think the weakness of the LSU team is still their secondary. Bunch of new guys. There's still some holes, some communication issues. We saw Tennessee take advantage. Last week I was on LSU against Florida because I said Florida can't really take advantage. I don't think Ole Miss will be able to on the road here. And for what it's worth, Brian Kelly, since 2005, 36, 14, and 2 against the spread. That's 72% as an underdog or favored of less than a field goal. 36, 14, and 2 against the spread. That makes him the most profitable coach in college football in that scenario since 2005. So, yeah, I think LSU, anything under a field goal is good here. I think this Ole Miss team is overrated. Got a lucky couple. Like Vandy was even hanging around with them late before a couple fluke plays. We saw Auburn be dumb last week, and Auburn hasn't been great, and then get all the way back in that game. What has been impressive about Ole Miss so far this year? Even some of their results against Group of 5 teams. I think this is a big-time comeback down the earth moment for Ole Miss, and LSU takes care of business at home. Do you agree?
I do. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, I sat on this podcast and made a big case against Tennessee, and then they come out and give up field position on the wrong side of the field. They got fumbles, they got special teams errors. And Brian Kelly really mentioned it this week in his presser. He's saying we are just way too inconsistent. Jaden Daniels is way too inconsistent. Like, he had a great day. He torched Florida, right? But he didn't torch Tennessee. Like, it's a very inconsistent team. But when they play at their peak, there's a reason why they, are going to stir up some trouble here in the SEC West. But I think from a
health, wouldn't you expect them to be, we're in week 7 now, or game 7, week 8. Brian Kelly, new regime, a lot of new parts. I think it's fair to assume that the consistency will get better as the season progresses, right?
Yeah. I mean, I said after that Florida State loss in week 1 that this will be the worst game that LSU ever plays. But then again, I didn't know that they were going to punt the ball over the field against Tennessee. But, they should get better. The consistency should get better with getting to know your coaches, getting to know your fellow players, all that good stuff. And you know what? Their strength of schedule is 7th. I mean, it has not been an easy route for LSU whatsoever up to this point. They're getting healthy in some spots. Jack Besh, or Monty Goodwin are both practicing. They're going to bolster up the weapons for Jaden Daniels, and their drops are decreasing each game. That's been very important. They had 4 against Auburn, 3 against Tennessee, just 1 against Florida. I guess you'll never guess who it is, right? It's Kayshon Boutte, who's had a drop in every single game this year. He's the only one still having problems with that. But the key to beating Ole Miss is stopping the rush And LSU has given up a ton of yards on the ground. Tennessee averaged over 6 yards per carry. And Florida rushers not named Anthony Richardson ran for over 100 yards last week. So the difference is they are one of the best, top 25 in defensive finishing drives. They really stiffen up when it gets down around the red zone. They've had, LSU ranks in top 20 in opponent TD percentage. So a lot of teams are settling for a field goal there, and that's a really big thing. And you mentioned, like, what has Ole Miss done against the group of five? I mean, this schedule from Ole Miss is poor. It's outside the top 50 in strength, but where have they played a dual threat quarterback with any kind of similarities to Jaden Daniels whatsoever? I couldn't find one. But Davis Brin did leave that Tulsa game, and Braylon Braxton came in and had 4 runs, averaging 10 yards apiece. I watched that game because it was my best bet of the week. He flawlessly moved around that field against the Ole Miss defense that was scrambling to get the cover and scrambling to stay 2 possessions ahead of Tulsa in that game. I think Ole Miss has not been tested by a dual threat quarterback at all. I think it's one place they can get easily exposed here by Jaden Daniels. So LSU, I got it cheap on the money line. I would, again, I don't know what your rules are, Stuck. Like, I would buy it to 135, 130 on a money line. I don't know if I want to deal with 2.5 because we know how these games go. But that's it for me. LSU money line.
Yeah, let me see. I have -1.5 from earlier this week. Yeah, I don't mind the money line. You can even find a -130 out there. I think LSU wins this game. I would also play it up to 2.5. But if you prefer the money line, don't mind that at all. Go Tigers.